Namaste and good morning and welcome to our Sunday Satsang. As Jaya mentioned, my name is Sadhana Devi and we're up here from Pune where we stay much of the time. So we were discussing what we are going to have for our talk today, and we decided on something that Shurjo came up with. So Shurjo is going to tell us the name of this satsang, right?
How to guarantee spiritual success.
How to guarantee spiritual success. Okay. So I'm going to talk about attunement. And I forgot what Jaya is. It'll be a surprise, whatever it is he's going to talk about. Attunement is one of the very most important parts of the spiritual path, as you all have discovered, I'm sure. Attunement is what we do in order to attach ourselves to the Guru. Attunement is a very, very important part of the spiritual path for us. I sort of divided it up into 4 sections, and the first one was life is a play. Isn't that so? Life is, we even talked about it a minute ago here in our reading. You might say that God is the playwright. God wrote all this script. The gurus are the directors, and we are the actors. We don't really know what God has in mind, and so we're doing our best. But our gurus are coming to the rescue because the gurus know what God has in mind and they know how to translate this to us so we can understand. They know how to guide us, and this is the important part, the guidance. We need to talk to the gurus. Tell them what's going on, explain to them, ask them to guide us in everything we do. Every time we meditate, every time we pray, end our prayer with, please guide us, please guide me in everything that I do. And so this is a very good way to get started, a very good way to make your attunement stronger all the time. Spend your day in conversation with the gurus. Just let that conversation keep going. We all have a conversation in our minds anyway. It's usually sort of just nothing important. But shift that a bit and direct it to the guru. Ask the guru to guide us in everything we do. Not only things we actually do, but our speech. Who do we speak to? How do we speak to those people that we care about? Those people that are just in our environment, they work at the store down the street or something. But always to guide us in behaving in the way that takes us back to God and helps us to know what we should do in every situation. Guidance, always. I had a friend who had a back injury, I think, and she, because of that, wasn't really able to sit still to meditate for very long, and she eventually got well, but during that time, her meditation practice, as we say sometimes, went down the drain. There was no way that she was able to sit still enough to really practice the way that, we all practice. And I asked her later on after this, I said, well, what did you do? And she said, I spent a lot of time talking with the gurus. And I felt very much love, joy from them. They obviously cared for me. I was not all that aware until I was in a situation where I couldn't be the way I thought I was supposed to be. The masters, the gurus, they never judge us. They're there for us. They're on our side. They want us to succeed. And by guiding us, that's what they help us to do. And so every time we meditate, every time we find ourselves in some sort of strange situation, we don't quite know what to say, or we're trying to give a talk and we're sort of nervous, all of these are times when we should call on the guru. Guide me, tell me what to say, tell me how to act. And so this is one way to get started with attunement. I had a third one. Let's see now. Okay, well, there is, the last one is, and maybe I'll remember the third one before I finish. The last one is to ask the gurus to guide us and to help us to be their channels, their instruments. If we're the actors in the play, that's essentially what we are doing. We are interpreting the play for the people that are around us. But what we are doing when we consciously are asking to be used as the channel is that we are sharing the blessings and the light with the gurus, or from the gurus to our people that we see, our family, our co-workers, our friends, people working in the stores. All of these people will be blessed by that light, by that love, if we consciously ask to be used in that way. And not only that, they say that the instrument is blessed by that which passes through it. So we too are just as blessed as the people who we are blessing. As a matter of fact, those that we consciously pray for, that we consciously share the light with. The world is not in a really good spot, I guess we could say now, and the United States has all sorts of political troubles and all of that, and people get all upset and all of that. But the best thing to do is to consciously share the light. No matter what's going on, just consciously bring the light, look at the light here, the spiritual eye, and then share that light. This is the best thing we can do. Attunement is the way that we will eventually find God. Through the practice of attunement, by practicing drawing the light through us, by practicing sharing the light, and continuously asking for guidance, we will find God one day. Okay.
I'm glad that Sadhana Devi picked that topic, attunement, because it really is the central thing. If we're looking for spiritual success, certainly attunement is the critical thing for the devotee, for the disciple, because if you have attunement with the guru, you have everything, really. You're going to be ensured success, because the guru is our raft across this ocean of delusion. And if you don't have the guru, in the spiritual realm, think about that. If you're out of tune with the guru, are you ever going to be successful? You can be very persevering, very hardworking. You can be very devotional in your own way. But if the guru is unpleased, or in the sense, maybe that's a little hard to say it, unpleased, but if you're not in sync with the guru, he's perhaps the director is trying to get you to act in a certain way, and you've decided, well, I'm going to act in this way. And so obviously you're not going to put on a very nice play as that. And so consequently, it's the essential ingredient for the devotee to be in tune. And this is actually what Paramhansa Yogananda would say, be in tune. He'd say to the disciples. Giving his public lectures, obviously he didn't say that, because he was in those cases trying to draw people into the closer circle. But for those that were close, he said, be in tune. And somehow it worked out for those people who were in tune. And those who were not, well, it took a little longer. There was, Master was saying to one disciple, you have clear sailing. He could see into his karmic future. You have clear sailing, but there was other disciples around him. And they said, what about me, Master? What about me, Master? And he said, he looked, I can imagine him sort of pausing and looking. He says, you too will all have clear sailing if you stay in tune. And of course they went away saying, did you hear it? Master said, I'll have clear sailing. And maybe they forgot the caveat, if you stay in tune. And so this is it for us. We'll all have clear sailing too, if we stay in tune. Now, I stay in Pune, as I mentioned, and over the last couple of months, we've been focusing on a topic that every center focuses on, every group focuses on, if in the spiritual realm. We're talking about fundraising. And have you ever heard that word before? Well, we were having fundraising meeting, and we had the core group of us who were involved in this. We got together, and we all agreed that fundraising would be a good idea. And we all agreed that we could use more of it. And we saw that there was a vast hole in our aura around that topic, and we needed to plug that aura. And then we went on from there into brainstorming ideas of what would be some good fundraising ideas. And we could do this, we could do that, we could do that, and it was open, and we were all very. And our allotted time came to an end, and said, okay, home, and started to go, but wait. As everybody was starting to pack it up, who was going to do any of this? Who's going to do it? Oh. Huh. Well, and you've been to meetings. If any of you in a group work in a group, you have these meetings where you get together and say, this project has to be done, and you go through the same routine of what do you spot at the end? You're supposed to have action statements. Who's going to do the action? And then it takes on a whole nother dimension. Those very highfalutin ideas have to be brought down to, what am I going to do tomorrow? So, now you get where I'm going. We talk passionately about attunement, but what are we going to do about it? And this is a very appropriate thing to ask in the days right now at the end of the year, because when you come to the end of the year, what comes next? You get the new year. And you sort of, in a sense, it's a bit of an artificial time, but nevertheless, the calendar flips. And naturally, we sort of psychically attune to that. And it's a new start, a new time. 2019 now is coming. We say, yes, I'm gonna do something, and it's traditional. People think, yes, 2018, it's past. Now what? Now where are we going? And oftentimes, organizations will have brainstorming sessions, organizational, looking forward to the next year at some point, and often at this time of year. And it comes at that time when we too need to ask that question of ourselves to go forward. Now, an interesting thing, I read a statistic, and I don't know if it was, how statistics are, but it reminds me of Mark Twain, actually. Mark Twain, he said there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. But nevertheless, this was an interesting statistic. He said that this person wrote an article, and he said that people who have an intention to do something, a resolution, in other words, a vague intention to do something, yes, fundraising would be a good idea. Attunement would be a good idea too. He said, but those people who actually make a firm resolution to do something are much more successful. Now, that should not come as a surprise. That wasn't why I read that, and I thought, of course. But people who make a firm resolution, he did this study of different, he said they are 10 times more likely to be successful in their intention if they make a firm resolution to be that way. So think about that. So when we think about attunement, we need to take it to the next level of what am I going to do? Attuning is something of putting our you might say, putting ourselves in harmony with the Guru in this case. One of our acharyas up at Pune was saying last couple weeks ago, his prayer was, he says, God, you have made this body. You have made these hands. You have made these feet. I pray, use these hands and feet in your cause, in your work. Guide me in everything I do. And I thought, oh, that was a nice prayer. That was a very nice prayer. And I basically have taken that prayer. And that started because I was so inspired by his devotion to and saying that. I thought, I'm going to do that too. But then, that's not quite enough, I realized, as I thought about the last, use my hands, I am thy hands, use me. Now, it's a good start. But then we have to say, how is he going to use thee? And I began to say, use my hands, use my feet to get me out of bed and to my meditation asana. In other words, make it specific. And if you make a specific resolution to be in tune in some fashion, and I think to be in tune with Guru means that we need to act in some fashion. We need to do something. And I don't think the Guru doesn't care how you act and what you do. Some people, maybe they're fundraisers. Other people, they meditate. Other people are devotion. Other people say japa. And other people think of Guru all day long. Other people meditate in certain ways in certain times and draw the Guru. Other people serve. They do something in Guru's name. You have to find something that is going to be your thing to do. Now, other people might even take it a little bit further than that. You have people typically at this time of year, they do all sorts of resolutions. They, anywhere from going to the gym to perhaps overcoming anger or perhaps trying to be a little bit more kind to people. You can do those in Guru's name. Because each of those are a way, even going to the gym, if in the right spirit, these are ways to be in tune with the Guru. If you do it in the right spirit. You see, if you do it in God remembrance, and this is what I read that reading of God remembrance. If we do whatever we do in life in God remembrance, we find that we start to become in tune. And if we can take something, some quality, some action, and put a resolution behind it, perfection in any one thing in our lives leads to perfection in everything in our lives. You don't have to do all million things or countless, crores and crores of actions of perfections. You only really need to do one, because one thing done perfectly and with perfect devotion and Guru's in action of offering to the Guru will bring you the true spiritual success that we're looking for. Now, I say this also, I want to just interject a couple other thoughts in this. This is very important for devotees, especially devotees as they age. And now you probably, I remember another statistics that is very pertinent to all of you to remember, especially those of you of a certain age. The statistic was this: a person makes a resolution to do something, and it's fame. You know how it is with New Year's resolutions. I'm going to go to the gym, and the gym gets great attendance in January, but by February it very quickly begins to go away. Well, they found that people that are 30 years old or less, the fellow was writing this article, says actually people are more successful than you think. But those who are successful and they're less than 30 years of age, his study revealed that they were 34% over an extended period of time to be successful in their resolution. And he thought 34% was actually pretty good. That's 1 out of 3 under the age of 30. By the time a person got to the age of 55, there were 14%. Think about it. And what happens when a person starts to age? They become less able to change. And they become less able to use their will to affirm something. They become stuck. And as Master said, antiques. Now, I don't want to be harsh, but I look in the mirror in the morning sometimes. And I remind myself of that, you see. And I think all of us, because even at the age of whatever that age begins to, you start to lose that will. You lose that ability to change. We need to realize it's happening. So at a certain point, we have to be able to be flexible, to be able to change on a dime if necessary, and be able to, and if we keep ourselves in tune by actually doing something, we find that we gain that strength, acting in God's name and acting in a way that is fresh, creative, in everything that we do, to be fresh in our approach to God. God is ever new joy. That word ever new is something that we too need to periodically, I said not just once a year, but we need to periodically refresh that. And love itself is ever new. If it's really love, it's ever new. And we have to make love to God in that spirit. And then we find that we become Master once said he hardly ever did anything exactly the same way. It was always creative. Sri Yukteswaram certainly was probably like that too, as was Lahiri and all of our gurus. They become ageless. We want to be like that. We don't want to be identified. And of course, Master used to say, don't tell people your age because they'll identify you as being that age, and you don't want to self-identify with it because you're not this body. None of us are this body. We're something more than that. We're spirit, and spirit is ever new joy, and it's ever new creativity, and each of us keep that in mind as we enter into the new year. So I'm going to leave you with that, but apply it in some fashion to being in tune. And use this if it's useful for you. I'm this hands, this body, this hands and feet. God made these bodies for us. Use this body in thy service. Use this body to express thy consciousness. Get up in the morning and feel that it's God using you during the day to, and as you begin to do that, you begin to lose this consciousness of you and the Guru. You become one in your consciousness. Just as Swami, this is what I saw in Swami. His body got old, but his spirit, he was vital. He was vital. And he often would say in this latter part of his life, he says, I've come to the point in my life where I don't know where Master ends and Swami Kriyananda begins. And that's what we want. We want to be like that. And how did Swami have that? He had it by attuning himself, feeling that it was Master working through him in everything he did. His intention was always that. The body, it's not who we really are. It's not who we are. It's that spirit inside of us. So keep it fresh, keep it vibrant, keep it vital, and feel that joy and express it through everything that we do. God bless all of you.